Boker Tov, good morning everyone, to all of my friends over here in Rechavia, Nachlaot, in Yerushalayim, and abroad. We are in the middle of learning the letter Hey, the 8 verses that start with the letter Hey, in Tehillim, chapter Kuf Yotes. I would like to take a little pause from learning the actual verses and to focus on the letter Hey itself. Usually we focus more on the Tehillim, but let me tell you why I'm taking a pause now. Tomorrow evening, Friday night, this Shabbat, is the Hebrew date of Yud Shvat, the 10th day of Shvat. 71 years ago, the previous Rebbe, Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak, passed away, and 1 year later, exactly 70 years ago, on Yud Shvat, the 10th day of Shvat, on the first anniversary of the passing of his father-in-law, our Rebbe, the Rebbe assumed upon himself leadership of Chabad. The fact that it's number 70 means that it's a very, very special year, and we're going to have a very special Farbrengen on Zoom and Facebook Live, Motzai Shabbat, right after Shabbat, at 8 o'clock, Bezrat Hashem. This is going to be a joint effort from all of the Chabad houses which have English speakers in Eretz Yisrael. We're going to have a special lecture by Rabbi Shais Taub, who is a very noted and famous lecturer and author, a special Farbrengen in honor of Yud Shvat. Of course, the lecture will be in English, and I look forward to seeing you and all of your friends. Please spread the word, and please spread around the flyer. In honor of this special, momentous occasion, I want to talk about the letter Hey. Because by divine providence, by Hashgacha Pratit, we are learning now the letter Hey in the course of Perek Kuf Yutet in the Tehillim. The previous letter that we learned in the beginning of the week, we learned about the letter Dalet. And we talked about how Dalet is different than the Reish. I'm mentioning Dalet because this is going to jumpstart our connection to the subject of Yud Shvat. We talked about the fact that both the Dalet and the Reish have a line on top, and you can even take a pen and paper and draw the letters as we talk about them. I'm not sure if it's going to be straightforward or backwards because of the video, so I'm going to have you write them. So the letter goes straight, and then down on the right side, the line goes down. Both the Dalet and the Reish. What's the difference? At the top right corner, the Dalet has a little line sticking out. In the Kabbalah, we call it a little Yud, the letter Yud. And we talked about at great length, and you can look it up. Review it on our YouTube channel, the class from Monday, and you will hear all the details about that little Yud, how it's not only a little dot, a little line. It's a Yud. Yud represents humility and selflessness. And that makes Dalet a holy letter, as opposed to Reish, which is an unholy letter. Now, let's talk about Yud Shvat for a minute, and then we'll wrap it around with the Dalet and the Hey. The previous Rebbe, before he passed away, he prepared a mimer, a Hasidic discourse, to be given out. You might be aware that in the 1920s, 1927, he was put in jail, and he was terribly tortured, as he himself writes, after he came out of jail. For example, they threw him down a whole set of stairs. They hit him and they beat him. He really had a few weeks of tremendous, tremendous pain and suffering. Because of that, he suffered a lot. His speech was also very unclear. And the Rebbe and others would stand next to the previous Rebbe and explain to people what the previous Rebbe was saying. Also, as far as a mimer, he couldn't always say a mimer, a Hasidic discourse. Even after he came to America, in 1940, it was difficult for him to speak. So often he would take a mimer that he said and gave out previously, and he re-edited the mimer. So this mimer of Bati Lagani, he prepared for Yud Shvat, which he ended up passing away on that day. Why did he prepare? What was so special about Yud Shvat? That was the day of the yahrzeit of his grandmother, Rebbetzin Rivka, the wife of the fourth Chabad Rebbe. That was her yahrzeit. And so in honor of her yahrzeit, he prepared a mimer, Bati Lagani, which I believe he had originally said and edited in 1922, and it has 20 paragraphs. He prepared 5 paragraphs to be published in honor right before that Shabbat, which he ended up passing away that Shabbat at 8 o'clock in the morning, unfortunately. He prepared another 5 paragraphs to be published 4 days later on the 13th of Shvat, which is his mother's yahrzeit. And then an additional 5 paragraphs for Purim, which was about a month later. And finally, the last 5 paragraphs of this mimer for Bet Nisan, 2 weeks after Purim, the day after Rosh Chodesh Nisan, which is the yahrzeit of his father, the 5th Chabad Rebbe, Rabbi Shalom Dovber. What is the point of the mimer? It's important for us to know this because every year on Yud Shvat, starting from 70 years ago, the Rebbe explained 1 paragraph of the mimer. So within 20 years, from 1951 until 1970, the Rebbe explained 1 paragraph of the mimer, Basi Lagani. So he said an entire mimer based on 1 paragraph of the original mimer of his father-in-law. Then from 1971 to 1990, pretty much, give or take, the Rebbe explained 1 paragraph. He started again from the beginning of the mimer for the next 20 years. And then in 1991 and 1992, the Rebbe took an earlier mimer, re-edited it, and gave it out. So this year, which is 70 years, this is the 11th year, the year that we read the mimer, the 2 ma'amarim that the Rebbe gave out for the 11th paragraph of this original mimer of Bati Lagani. What does the previous Rebbe discuss in this mimer? And the Rebbe explains at great length. I'm not going to tell you right now, obviously, all the details, just 1 or 2 details here or there. That we talk about the falsehood of the world. How do you say falsehood in Hebrew? Sheker. 3 Hebrew letters, Shin, Kuf, Resh. The Shin is considered a holy letter. Kuf and Resh are considered unholy letters. And that fits in with the concept of Sheker. Sheker is falsehood, which Kuf and Resh are unholy letters, so to speak. Soon we'll explain why. The Resh we already explained, because it goes down and it's missing that little Yud at the top right corner. And Shin, which has a little bit of a flat base, that is a letter which is holy, is sustained. So Sheker, if someone says a lie, you can tell pretty much that it's a Sheker, that it's a lie. Only unless it has a little bit of truth, then it's easier for the person to sell the lie. So Sheker, the word Sheker itself, has 1 letter which is holy. So you have the Sheker, Shin, Kuf, Resh. But what happens if you change around the letters? You change around the falsehood of the world, and you make it into Keresh. Keresh means a beam. What does a beam have to do with the price of tea in China? What was the point of building the Beit HaMikdash? To use beams to build the Mishkan, and build the tabernacles, the Mishkan, the Beit HaMikdash, the Holy Temple, and that is the epitome of truth. Emet. We want to get rid of the falsehood of the world, and we want to have Emet. Then, when we have the Emet, we take those same letters, Shin, Kuf, Resh. Kuf, Resh, Shin, and then we make it into Kesher. The same letters, we make a third combination, Kuf Shin Reish, which is connection. And that means that we have a true connection with Hashem. So that's the idea of building a Beis HaMikdash in a nutshell, in 90 seconds. Taking the falsehood of the world, turning it over, it's kafia, it's hapcha, and building the Beit HaMikdash, the keresh, kuf reishin, and then that strengthens our kesher with Hashem. Now, getting back to the letter Hey, we talked about the reish, right? The reish is the antithesis of the Dalet, because the Dalet has that little yud. Same thing applies to the Hey. The Hey is like a Dalet, right? You have a line on top, and then the line coming down, and it has that little yud. And then the line coming down on the other side of the Hey, which is detached from the top, that is also a holy letter. That shows that we need to have the thought, speech, and that little, we call it a yud, that little line on the bottom of the Hey, that is a holy letter. That indicates that we bring the thought and speech into action. So you can ask, the kuf is very similar. The kuf also has a line going across, a line going down, and that line, it just goes a little lower than the regular sequence of things. And so here's the answer. It goes too low. The deed that we do, we're not allowed to allow this. We cannot allow this to go too deep into the impure realm. We have to keep the maaseh, the deed, our action, in the realm of Kedusha. So you have the kuf and the reish are both, in a sense, unholy letters. By the way, the kuf doesn't have that little yud at the top right corner. And the hey and the dalid are holy. So the hey is the antithesis of the kuf, and the dalid is the antithesis of the reish. The dalid is holy, and the hey is holy. This brings us to the letter that we're learning right now. This is where I'm drawing the connection between the concept of Yud Shvat, which is coming up tomorrow night, and the Hey, letter Hey, which we're focusing on right now. When we talk about the letter Hey, it's important for us to remember, to put things in perspective, that the letter Hey represents Hashem's name. If you want to write a Hey and the little line, and you put a little line on the top, that represents Hashem's name. That is Kedusha. And that is like what we said earlier in the week. We talked about the fact that when you have spirituality, then you have humility. You have bittul, selflessness. But when you have a lack of spirituality, then you have ego. You have boasting. And that is not only different than Kedusha, but it's the exact opposite of Kedusha. So therefore, it's important for us to remember that the letter Hey is very special, is very holy. And this is the letter which is connected to Dira B'Tachtonim, to building an edifice for Hashem. When we talk about the spirituality of Hashem and the worlds, the Sfirot, the angels, all wonderful, it's all true. But it's all about that little line of the Hey coming down. All of the thoughts and speech talking about the greatness of Hashem is wonderful, but it doesn't come anywhere close to the action. One can argue, why does Hashem need to have a physical edifice in this world? A materialistic building? Doesn't he have enough spiritual realms on high? Why does he need to have a physical building? Shlomo Melech himself says this. V'af ki habayit hazeh. Is it not enough to have the higher realms? And the answer is that dafka, specifically in this world, when we're able to build the Beit HaMikdash, when Hashem created the world starting all the way back then, beginning of creation, 5,781 years ago, when there was truly the utmost spirituality in the world. Then unfortunately spirituality left because human beings did sin. Then it came back through Moshe Rabbeinu in this world through the giving of the Torah, which we're going to read in a few weeks about. And then unfortunately with the Chet HaEgel, the sin of the golden calf. The Shekhinah, the divine presence, once again went away. But when Shlomo HaMelech built the first Beit HaMikdash, that's when the Shekhinah came back into this world. Unfortunately, with the sins of Am Yisrael, it's enough to read just a little bit of the Navi, and we see what Am Yisrael did. The Shekhinah went away again. And that's what we're waiting for right now, for the Shekhinah to come back, and for the rebuilding of the third Beit HaMikdash. And this is the greatest accomplishment of Dor HaShvi, the seventh generation. The Rebbe talked about the 7 generations, starting from the Alter Rebbe. And then the Rebbe, in his inauguration Maimer, exactly 70 years ago, he said, this is our mission. Our generation is going to bring Mashiach. We're going to have the Beit HaMikdash in this world. No mincing any words, but having the greatest level of revelation, of godliness in this world. That is the purpose of why we're here, and that is the purpose of, this is the inauguration speech. This is the ultimate, the ultimate inauguration speech about how we're going to make this world into a holy place. So it's wonderful to be all spiritual, but it doesn't come anywhere near the hay. The hay brings the spirituality into practice and into this world. And therefore, when Mashiach comes, what's the ultimate? That all of the great tzaddikim that passed away, even 3,000 years ago, Moshe Rabbeinu, Avraham Avinu, Yitzchak Avinu, Yaakov Avinu, they're going to come back right down here into the world, be re-enclothed, excuse me please, into bodies. Weren't they all spiritual, going higher and higher? Yes, they need to come back down into bodies, because this is where all the mitzvahs were done. This is where they're going to receive the greatest benefit, the greatest reward, because it's all about this world. It's all about Olam Hazeh. Even though we may not appreciate the greatness of this mundane, materialistic world, nevertheless, we have to face the facts. We have to realize that this is where it's all going to be. Mashiach's coming is going to be here. The Beit HaMikdash is going to be a physical building. It's not only going to be a spiritual thing, like we know that the Beit HaMikdash is being built on high, which is true. Every mitzvah that we do builds another brick for the Beit HaMikdash. But ultimately, it's a physical building, and the physical sacrifices that we're going to bring, this is what we are going to appreciate, Olam Va'ed, forever and ever. And therefore, this Shabbos is a very, very special Shabbos, and we look forward to seeing all of you come participate in the tefillot and the services and the shiurim that we're going to do this Shabbos, because it's dedicated to the previous Rebbe, to his yahrzeit, but also to the 70th anniversary of the Rebbe accepting upon himself leadership of Chabad. How the world has changed unbelievably in the last 70 years. Can you imagine, after Am Yisrael has been so crushed in just a few years after the Holocaust, and moving to America, and unfortunately the observance of mitzvot was an all-time low, came the beacon of light, the Rebbe himself, and turned it upside down, and said, instead of taking this sadly and being depressed and shattered and broken, we are going to turn it upside down, and we're going to there's going to be a vision. We're going to complete a vision of a holy world, not a world which goes against Yiddishkeit, rather a world which supports Yiddishkeit and comes along. So therefore, I'd like to wish all of you a great day, and Bezrat Hashem, let's meet here tomorrow morning, Friday morning at 9:30, and of course the Shabbat should be a very special Shabbat, and we look forward to seeing all of you and to learn especially, you can print up from online from our website, our new website, JerusalemChabad.org, plenty of articles, and listen to some really nice Divrei Torah in honor of the special Shabbos, in honor of the Rebbe. All the best. Shalom, shalom. Kol Tov.